Hello my friends, and welcome to a very special episode in which I'm going to show you a mod that I made for Panzer Corps 2. Or less of a mod and really a fix, because we're going to install it like a fix. So, when I was playing through 1940, I reached the point where you can launch Operation Sea Lion. And the first mission of Operation Sea Lion is the mission to train on the Channel Islands, or to train on Jersey more specifically. And I got here and, well, I was frankly, in a game full of so many great maps, I was frankly so disappointed with this map. It doesn't even look like Jersey. It couldn't even remotely be charitably be described as Jersey if a 6-year-old drew it. So, anyway, I decided, you know, because we've often talked about Panzer Corps 2's very powerful modding and mapping tools, that I would fix it myself. Because it was just that bad. And I didn't want to complain about it on the forums or anything, because that doesn't achieve anything. So I just thought, okay, alright, I'll fix it. And I've completed that fix. I've worked really hard on it. And now I'll show you guys how you can install this fix so that you can have an improved Jersey, which I will show you. But first things first, let's install the fix. So close your game, go to your desktop, go to Panzer Corps 2, go to Properties, go to Local Files, browse the local files. You should get this window. You can close that one. Go to the Panzer Corps 2 directory, go to Content, go to Campaigns, go to 1940, and here you'll see Channel Island Training 13 folder. Now use the link in the description of this video to download the Jersey fix from the vault. Those of you who have got vault access can access this folder straight away, but obviously I'll just provide a link in the description, a share link for everybody who doesn't have vault access, because this is truly the fix for everyone. So download. You'll notice that this folder is called the same thing, 13 Channel Island Training. Save that to your desktop or anywhere really, but the desktop is easier. Okay, open up the folder. And then just replace the game folder with the folder provided in the vault. Close and close. Now open up Panzer Corps 2. Play the game. Play the game. Load up your save game before the mission. Before you get the choice to do the mission. You need to load it up from there. Okay, complete the previous mission. Or of course, if you're just going through the campaign, then you can install the fix and you'll come into it in your own time. Launch Operation Sea Lion as normal. I mean, it's a fix, so it's just going to work. There's no faffing around. It literally is. It was designed as a fix and it works as a fix. So. Okay, so the briefing is exactly the same and all the objectives are the same. I didn't change any of that, but I will talk about some of the things I did change. Okay, so let's just shuffle all these units into the reserve, and we'll just take some tanks for demonstration purposes. This is one of these training missions where you can train up some units. For those of you who have not played it before, you can take 7 units and you can still take 7 units. So I'll just place 7 units for the sake of it. Okay, so the first thing you'll notice is that the island actually looks like Jersey. We've included the port which Jersey had in the north of the island at the time. St. Helier has grown massively because it's actually massive and spreads across the whole At the time, it spread mostly across the whole seafront and a bit down here. These days, St. Helier has merged its way. I mean, it's basically houses all the way to St. Brelard's Bay. St. Brelard's Bay has actually become a bay. So St. Brelard's Bay is actually there and is a bay. I've added the 5 Mile Road, which is the most famous road in Jersey, which was missing, along with the dunes that are there. If you've never been to Jersey, you would never realise that there's like a whole range of sand dunes up here with a swamp next to it, which is now the quarry. But, you know, you just wouldn't know. You just wouldn't know. I put the whole north coast in, of course, which is pretty mountainous, actually. Surprisingly mountainous. People don't realise how mountainous it is, but there's like 30 and 40 foot drops along there. So yeah, it's a bad times ridgeline, but I've put that in there. Yeah, so it's all in for the most part, and I also added a few little details from the military side of things. So let's play the mission. So it works in the same way as before, in that you land on one side of the island. And you will find some enemies waiting for you. Okay. So what's slightly different? Well, we've added Gory Castle. It doesn't really do much except ineffectually shoot at you. It's a pretty big object, so it was interesting to me that it was missing. But it adds a little bit of flavour, because I think if the island was ever defended, they would have used Gory Castle. And in fact, the Germans themselves built fortifications on top of and around the castle once they had taken the place. So you can clear this as you would have done previously. No trouble there. I did have to add a couple of little extra target dummies here, but they're in positions where you can't steamroll them. So you should get the same number of steamrolls as you did previously. Okay, so our supplies have been secured. On the original map, as soon as you broke this line, you were pretty much in supply. To be fair, the port up here actually provides supply via the top. I was half and half as to whether I should do that or not, but it makes very little difference to the scenario since it's just a training exercise. Okay, let's end our first turn. Obviously, you can put Gory out of its misery, although the hill is still named Gory Castle. So I can't imagine a world in which you would actually be able to destroy all of that fortification. It's a big castle. Feel free to Google it. It's enormous. We also added Elizabeth Castle, which is another pretty famous fortification in Jersey, which you can just drive out to. So this is the thing. In the original Jersey scenario, there were a load of sea mines here. You would never be able to put sea mines in the bay because the whole of the waters surrounding Jersey, and mostly around here, are actually very, very shallow, like ridiculously shallow. And at low tide, or even moderate tide, you can actually walk out to Elizabeth Castle on foot without issue. There is also a bus goes there that goes there that is an amphibious bus that, in case the tide comes back in, it can swim. It's called the Puddle Duck. It's quite interesting. But anyway, you could never put sea mines in or around Jersey because they would just get stuck in the sand at low tide, and then they would just be there in the sand, and you landing craft would never have any trouble with that, because they would just be sat there in the sand. They would just be sat there in the sand, and you could just go around them. And when the tide is high, they'd still be in the sand. So it was, you know, it's just one of those things. If you haven't grown up on the island, you wouldn't know it. But at ridiculously low tide, it is possible to walk to France. Possible. NASA actually sent the Jersey government a picture of a really low tide in Jersey from satellite, where it was demonstrated that you could have walked to France on one particular day because the tide was low enough. So yeah, you probably wouldn't know this, but the seas around Jersey are very shallow indeed, with the exception of some areas around the north coast. So this has become more of a history lesson than anything else. Okay, you've got your training objectives over here as before in the usual place. Farm away if you wish. And of course, your cache. The secret cache is there. So, if you've never done the mission before, I won't spoil the cache for you, but the cache is there and it works. So, train your heart out on the island. You can go to St. Brelard's Bay. There's nothing there. There was nothing there in the original training scenario, and I didn't want to change the balance of the scenario at all. So it's balance-wise, it's identical, so, which is why you won't get any money for blocking the port in the north, and the Jersey airport is just a terrain feature, just for flavor. Doesn't do anything for you. But that's it. It's as I said, it's just a fix for me. I wanted Jersey to actually look at least vaguely like Jersey. So now it looks a lot more like Jersey. You can go and destroy Elizabeth Castle as well if you like. This was another place where the Germans built fortifications. In fact, the Germans built pretty much all over the island massive fortifications. Okay, so once the training mission is complete, there's obviously a load of plot here. I'll try and not spoil it for you. So we'll just spin through. I changed the historical text as well. Originally it says historically that the islands were of no strategic importance, which is not the case. Historically, Jersey, Guernsey and Alderney were mostly evacuated by the islanders before the Germans arrived. The simple fact was the island could not be defended against France. It just couldn't be. France was in range with the artillery of the time, and there was no way that they could have defended the island from artillery bombardment from France. So the decision was made to pull everyone out, or mostly everybody. Very few people stayed behind. The Germans themselves, or German High Command in particular, or an individual who will remain nameless, saw this island as quite the prize, because it was British territory, and, you know, however minor, it was occupied British territory, and that, you know, politically and sort of, you know, being used in a propaganda sense, really stabbed at the, you know, or attempted to stab at British morale, basically, and bolster German morale, because, you know, they had taken a piece of the British Empire, as it were, and they were very pleased with themselves. And because of that, they were ordered, the German army was ordered to turn the island into a fortress, so that symbolically the British would not be able to just come and take it back. So they built huge fortifications all over the island, everywhere, and you can still see most of them to this day. They built concrete lookout towers on top of Gorey Castle. They built massive coastal batteries. The one in Elizabeth Castle is still there and well maintained. And if you go around the island, you'll find, for example, in the dunes over here, you will find German command bunkers, and there are plenty more hidden in various places. Up in St. Catherine's Woods and other places in Jersey, you'll find German fortifications and concrete all over the place and everywhere. Obviously, the port in the north, they also built fortifications there. They really, really did turn it into a fortress. And there's also a museum called the German Underground Hospital. They built full, like, underground triage centers and everything you could want. They basically turned the island into a military installation, so they saw it as really important, and they spent huge resources making it really unpalatable for the British to take back. And in fact, they made it so unpalatable that Jersey would be one of the very, very last places to be freed at the end of World War II, because they just decided that they couldn't take it. They just wouldn't be able to take it. So they waited until it was basically handed back. Okay, and obviously it's a fix, so it works perfectly in the campaign. You will then go on to the next mission as normal. And that's it! The zip file is in the description, so feel free to download it. And I hope you enjoy your training mission on Jersey. On a Jersey that actually looks like Jersey. And I hope that the little bit of history that I added as well makes that that mission a little bit more interesting for you. And that is it for now. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And I'll see you guys next time.